Now, Moscow is hosting inter-Palestinian talks for a national unity government. The initiative comes as the region looks to who will govern the Gaza Strip once Israel's offensive to oust Hamas comes to an end. We can now bring in Tahani Mustafa, senior Palestine analyst at the International Crisis Group. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24. What's the Palestinian and regional reaction been to Moscow holding these talks?
Well, this is the first interfactional talks that we've seen hosted since the 7th of October, where even Abbas's Fatah faction are willing to partake, something that he had prohibited those within his party from doing prior to February. I don't think many are expecting much to actually come out of this. This is coming against the backdrop of a cabinet reshuffle that has been the product of US and Western pressure primarily. So many aren't really expecting Moscow to be able to reconcile these differing factions, especially Hamas and Fatah, given that the long-standing divisions still very much hold quite firm.
The divisions hold firm, but has this conflict, has what's happened in Gaza managed to bring these two sides closer together, or are the divisions still laid bare?
The divisions are still very much laid bare. Mahmoud Abbas has been very reluctant to engage in any kind of reconciliation talks with Hamas. Hamas has been very proactive in terms of trying to find partners to form a united front, but there are still concessions that it is unwilling to cede towards, which is the disarmament of its armed wing and accepting the right of Israel to exist while Israel still refuses to recognize Palestinian self-determination. And this is something that Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah faction are insisting that Hamas recognize the conditions now for these talks to succeed is that Hamas cede to all previous agreements made by the PLO and Israel.
But then if that is the case, why did Hamas decide to even send representation to these talks?
Hamas is in a very precarious situation right now. As I said, it is proactively looking for partners to work with in order to create some kind of Palestinian united front, especially given that the international community and regional states are refusing to relinquish their no-contact policy with Hamas, especially in light of the 7th of October. So Hamas is almost in a sort of desperate situation now where it will try and make concessions where it can, but there are still a few, I would say a handful of firm pillars that it cannot concede to, simply because it has seen the mistakes that Fatah have made in doing so itself. It has seen the implications that has had on the movement today, where it is practically, today Fatah stands for everything and nothing. It is not a consistent, coherent movement any longer. It is composed of 4 different splinter movements.
What chance do these talks have of succeeding if the big players in the region are not at the table? And I'm talking about Jordan, Qatar, Egypt, even Saudi Arabia. Well,
this is ultimately meant to be Russia trying to create some kind of space for the factions to come together, reconcile their differences. I think this is mostly just Russia posturing, really. Russia showing that it stands on the side of justice. Russia trying to kind of flex its diplomatic prowess in light of Israel standing by Ukraine.
But Tahani, what clout does Russia have to do that in the region? One would think that China has more clout in the region, given that Beijing brokered that peace agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Russia does have a long-standing relationship with the PLO and Fatah, but as I said, this is primarily symbolic on Russia's part to show that it is standing on the side of justice and the majority of the international community. The Palestinians, unfortunately, are incredibly desperate. This is a decision to go to Moscow is a decision born out of desperation. It is not something that they are making out of any kind of level-headed political decision-making.
Interesting point, Tahani Mustafa. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.